Hi, hello. This is going to be my MS journey video, just a video about how I was diagnosed with MS. For those of you who are curious, and I do get a lot of questions, either through Facebook, Instagram, or even like now YouTube. I guess just to have that like sense of community is always good. So anyways, I guess we'll just start at the beginning. The first symptoms that I ever had were in like February or March of 2012. I had trouble with my left eye. One day I was leaving work. Sorry if my camera wobbles. One day I was leaving work and I noticed that every time I would try and look to the left, it was like I couldn't, it was like something was like blocking my vision. Like I couldn't see, or like my eye would like, I don't know, it would just want to like stay like forward. It wouldn't, I felt like I couldn't see anything like in my peripheral vision, if that makes sense. So at the time I thought that something was just wrong with my eye because I'm supposed to wear glasses. I have an astigmatism, and one of the muscles in my eye doesn't contract the way it's supposed to, so I thought, well, I've just like screwed that up because I'm not wearing glasses like I'm supposed to. So I made an appointment at my eye doctor for later that week. Well, by the time it was time for me to go to the eye doctor, there was numbness in my face, and it was mostly just like on my nose and through my cheeks and my forehead. It felt like if you've ever had on like goggles or something for a while and you take them off but you still feel like it's on your face, that's how it felt. Like it was just odd. And I thought, well, maybe it's like sinus pressure or something, you know, just you write it off. And so I went to the eye doctor and they did an eye exam, and she's like, okay, nothing appears to be going on with your eyes, so whatever's happening with your vision, it has to be neurological. And so when she told me that, I was like, well, what does that mean? She's like, well, it's something to do with your brain. And immediately my mind goes straight to like, well, shit, like I have a brain tumor is what I thought. So she told me to make an appointment with my regular doctor and to go see him and take it from there. So I made an appointment to see my regular doctor. And when I went to see him, I was still having the same issues, like my left eye and the numbness in my face. And so he thought, well, maybe it was like a palsy, or that it was just like a palsy of like the nerve that's in there, you know, just all kinds of stuff. And after he looked at me, he was like, well, we'll do an MRI just to be sure. And at that time, like, he mentioned MS, but just like, you know, just like in like conversation, really. Like it wasn't like, okay, well, you know, that's it. So I didn't even pay attention to the fact that he had even mentioned that. So he scheduled me for an MRI. I think it was probably like the next week. So when the next week came around, I went and had the MRI at like 9:30 in the morning, and then I went on to work, and he called me at like 12:30 and was like, there's something on your MRI. I need you to come back in so we can talk about it. So like I go into like panic mode, of course. I'm like, holy shit, like I really do have a brain tumor. I'm gonna die. Like this is it. I'm 27 and I'm dead. Because I'm that dramatic, as you guys will know. Some of you may already know that. But so anyway, I go back in to see him, and I make my mom come with me because I'm a huge baby and I can't go to the doctor without my mom hardly. And so I call her freaking out, and I'm like, you have to go with me. There's something that showed up on my MRI. I probably have a brain tumor. Like, it's bad. It's real bad. And my mom's like, you know, trying to calm me down. She's like, well, let's just go and see what they say. So we go, and he tells me that there's like lesions on my brain and spine, and that's probably, you know, that's what's causing the issues, and that is indicative of multiple sclerosis, and that he thinks that's what I have, but he can't diagnose me with that, you know, just based on that, like, you have to go through all this other stuff, which we'll get to. But so when he tells me that, I'm like, okay, like, what is that? Because MS was something that I knew nothing about. Like, I had heard the term, but, like, I had no idea, like, what that meant, like, what the disease actually was. So he starts explaining it to me, and then he tells me, he's like, well, I have a cousin that has it, and she lives in Chicago. She does very well with it. She uses a scooter to get around. When he said that, I literally thought, like, I was gonna pass out. Like, I was like, can't breathe. Gonna have a panic attack. Like, why would you say that? Like, it scared the shit out of me. So he's like, just calm down. Like, you know, it's different with everybody. Like, just go home, read about it, and just, you know, stay calm until you know something. So I'm like, and again, like, reading about something on the internet makes it 10 times worse, I think. Like, because when I went home that evening and I read about it, like, every symptom, like, whatever the worst symptom was, I was convinced that that was going to happen to me. Like, when he told me that his cousin had to have, like, a scooter to get around, I was convinced I was going to be paralyzed. Like, my mom was with me, I was freaking out. I was like, I'm not going to be able to walk. I'm not going to be able to walk. Like, you might as well just go ahead and, like, put me in a wheelchair, because, like, I can't walk. And again, my mother, God bless her, she's like, just stay calm, Brittany, stay calm. Like, you know, we don't know anything. You're fine. Just stay calm. So anyway, he gives me a referral to a neurologist, and by the time it rolls around that I go to see the neurologist, all the existing symptoms that I had kind of disappeared. Like, I was fine. And so I was like, okay, you know, I'm fine. Like, I feel fine. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with me. So she, my neurologist at the time would just do, like, they did a bunch of tests on me at first. Like, anytime you go, you have to do tests that it feels like you're doing sobriety tests. It's like, touch your nose, close your eyes, puff your cheeks, you know, walk a straight line. It's just, like, really weird things that they make you do. And they did a ton of blood work on me. They try and rule out, like, any other cause, like any other thing that could be causing what's going on with you. So I had, like, more MRIs, and this went on for, I guess, a couple months, like, maybe, like, 3 months or so. They were just, like, testing me for, like, all kinds of stuff, and just like, well, this isn't it, and this isn't it. So finally she's like, well, we're gonna have to do a spinal tap on you. And for those of you who don't know what a spinal tap is, it's they insert a needle into your spine and allow your spinal fluid to drain out so that they can look at it and test it to see, you know, if you have MS. And that is the only definitive way that they can test for MS. So there was no way around it. Like, I had to have the spinal tap. And I'm, for those of you who've never had one, or I don't want to scare anybody who maybe is going to have one, but it was fucking awful. Like, I'm not even going to lie. It was terrible. That's all I'll say about it. Like, it was bad. So, after the spinal tap, I went in to see my neurologist again, and at that time she told me that, you know, from what she had saw in the results from my spinal tap, combined with, like, everything else that they had gotten from me, like all the other tests, that she would say that it was probable MS, but that she didn't feel comfortable, like, giving me a diagnosis, and she wanted me to see a specialist in Lexington and let them confirm that diagnosis. So I'm still at this point feeling, you know, pretty optimistic. I'm like, you know, well, she said probable, maybe, you know, maybe it's something else. Maybe I'll go and they'll be like, oh, you just have an issue with, like, this, and it's, you know, not that serious, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, well, I'll go and, you know, we'll go and see him. So I go to UK, again, with my mom and my dad, because, like I said, I'm a freaking baby, and I can't handle stress by myself. Like, just can't. So we go to UK, and I go in to see this doctor, and when he comes in the room, he's, like, all of, like, 105 years old, and that's, like, not discrediting him at all, because he was an awesome doctor, but you could just tell he like had been doing it for like forever. He was very old school. Like he had his own like old school bag with like all of his tools and shit in it. So anyway, he comes in and he's like, you know, what's the problem? You know, what's been going on with you? And I explain everything to him. And he's like, all right. So he does like a few of those quick, I call them sobriety tests on me. And then he's like, okay, I'm gonna go look at your stuff, and I'll be right back. I'm like, all right. Like meaning that he's gonna go look at my MRI results and the stuff from my spinal tap. So he leaves, and I'm like, I'm thinking I'm fine. You know, I'm feeling pretty good about it still. Well, then he comes back in. He's like, okay, so what has your neurologist told you? And I'm like, well, you know, she told me that it might be MS, but she doesn't know, and you know, that's why we're here. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I can tell you it is MS. And he just says it like it's nothing. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, because like your whole life is suddenly changed. It's like, I have this disease. Like, what does this mean? What does this mean for me? What does this mean for my family? What does this mean for my future? Like, you know, I mean, it's terrifying. And I'm trying to like stay as calm as I can. And he can tell I'm like fighting back like the tears and stuff. And he's like, and he told me, he's like, it's okay to cry. Like, if you want to cry, cry. This sucks. You're young. This is a terrible disease. If you're, you know, be angry. Like, you know, don't feel guilty about that, because like it just sucks. And so like I started crying, and I never will forget, like he said, it's okay to be upset about it. He's like, but don't let this be a catalyst for the rest of your life. And that's really stuck with me, like from the beginning, is like, yeah, I do have this disease and it does suck, and my future is just like a big question mark, which I guess everybody's is. But I've never let it, like, I've not let it destroy me. I've tried not to let it define me. So yeah, trying not to get like too emotional about it. But at that time, he diagnosed me and explained to me what my treatment was going to be, because there's no cure for MS. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but they can treat it, but there's no cure. And I should also mention that there's like 4 different types of MS. If you want me to make a video on all that, just let me know and I will. But or if you have any questions, just ask and I'll answer them. But the type that I was diagnosed with, and the type that most people are diagnosed with, is RRMS, which is relapsing remitting MS. And that means that you can have symptoms like and issues with things like how I did with my eye and with the numbness and stuff, and like those symptoms will present themselves, but then they can go into like remission, and you'll be okay. Like your body will kind of like correct itself a little. So anyway, that's what his diagnosis was, and he's like, we're gonna get you set up on this medication called Rebif, and it's an injection that you'll have to do 3 times a week. And so me, again, dumbass, I'm like, okay, for how long? And he's like, for the rest of your life. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't go to a doctor like 3 times a week for the rest of my life to get a shot. And he's like, no, like, you'll have to give yourself the shot. And I'm just like, I cannot give myself the shot. Like, such a fucking baby, such a scaredy cat. I'm like, I can't do it. And my mom's like, yeah, you can. I'm like, no, like, I really don't think I can. So he tells me all that, and pretty much just, you know, is like, good luck. I mean, like, what else can you say? So, we leave that day, and, I was pretty distraught, like, upset, and, I was glad that my parents were with me, because my mom is always, like, very supportive, and just, like, so kind, and just can, like, keep me calm. And my dad is just very, like, he sees, like, humor in everything. He's very, like, straight, like, with you. So, like, you know, he'd just be like, you know, this, calm down, like, it's not like you're dying. You don't have a brain tumor. Quit being a baby. Like, you can give yourself a shot. Kids give themselves shots when they have diabetes, you know. Just really, like, kind of putting things in perspective and not allowing me to feel too sorry for myself, which is good. So yeah, since then I've had, that's been, like I said, that was in 2012, so this June will make 6 years since my diagnosis. In those 6 years I've been pretty lucky. I have only had a few issues. I've had 2 relapses, had to deal with having to have like IV steroid infusions and stuff like that. For the most part, like, you know, like I said, I have been lucky. Day-to-day issues, for me, the biggest one is probably fatigue. That one is hard. Like, it's just, you're so tired, and it's not like when people are like, oh, I'm tired, like I didn't sleep. It's a completely different kind of tired. And I get so mad, like, when people are like, oh yeah, me too, I didn't sleep at all last night. And depression has also been an issue, but luckily, like I said, I have a great support system. I have a great family, friends, boyfriend, who all love and support me and have supported me. And I went to my doctor and got on medication for depression, which I think is, it was hard for me to go and do that. I don't know why. Like, it's just, I guess, like, I hate to say like I felt weak, because it's not a weakness at all. You know, you can't control like what's happening inside of you, but that is how I felt. Plus, on top of like having to deal with all the emotional shit of realizing, you know, that I have a chronic illness, and like I said, worrying about all these things that could possibly happen to me. It was just a lot of stress, and it's still something that I'm struggling to like accept, because it's weird when you feel fine for the most part. It's hard to like wrap your mind around the fact that you do have a chronic illness, and that your body is not the same as it once was, and that you can't do as much as you used to do, and you know, everything's different. So yeah, now I just, like I said, I do stuff like this. I speak a lot on my Facebook account. I share a lot of information on my Instagram account and through Twitter. Like I said, I have a lot of people who follow me and reach out to me, because I do like to share so much information, and I do speak a lot on the things that I go through, because it's helpful, and I like hearing other people's stories and know what's going on with them. And so yeah, I guess that's about it. Again, I'm sorry for the shitty quality of these videos. I have to record it on my phone, and I keep trying to remind myself to look at the like part of the phone where the camera is, and not at myself. And yeah, and I have this propped up on a thing on my bed, so every time like I move at all is why it jiggles. Yeah, so like I said, if you have any questions about anything, if you're going through the same thing and like you just want to talk, leave me a message. You can private message me. Also, I'm in some online support groups that I could point you in the direction of if you're also a person with MS. And yeah, we'll get through this together day by day. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.